Right, W11 name, the date, and your email. This is how you'll begin your coding. The hashtag makes a comment in RStudio. So when you run this code, it will ignore this comment. Just make a note, the hashtag will create a comment which will be ignored. Let me just zoom in. Yeah? Yeah, so you do hashtag final, name, date. You don't have to write down your email, but in general, when you're coding, it's good to write down your email because when you share it, and if somebody else has a question, they should know whom to contact. Right, the first thing we'll do is the absolute basics of R coding. Right, so the first thing will be how to assign a variable in R. So let's call the variable X. And you use this operator, it's called the assignment operator, this one here, less than and a dash, and give a value to X. Press enter, then press X again to check if the value has been saved into X. And then to run the program, you go on run on the top. So you click on run on the top, or on the keyboard, you press Control and enter together. So if I do Control and enter, let's run this first, Control enter, and then Control enter. So look at that, the output is 3. This thing will save it in your environment on the right. It will say the value of X is 3. And when you just run X, it will give you 3. Does that make sense? Now, if you want to run the whole, so if you have a lot of line of code, and if you want to run the whole thing, you click on source here. If you just click on run, it runs only that line. But if you click on source, it runs the entire sheet. And the short form for that is Control, Shift, and Enter. If you just do Control, Enter, it will run one line. Control, Shift, Enter will run the entire sheet. Okay, similarly, if you want to give a string, you do the same way. Let's call it S. But the string should be in double quotes. So let's call it ABCD and run it. So look at that. S is saved as ABCD on the right. So if I just run S now, you'll get the output as ABCD on the bottom. Make sense? Okay, next thing will be called vectorization or vectors. Right, so if I do 1 colon another number like that, and I run this, what do you think should be the output? Any guesses? So if I run this, the output is, look at that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what the vector does is it ranges it from the minimum to the maximum. Make sense? And you can also save this in a variable. So let's say y, right? If I say x again here, what do you think? Will it give an error or will it override the x here? Any guesses? So let's run it and check. Look at that, it automatically overrides the previous x. So just make a note, if you keep giving same x's in your program, it will override your previous x's. Okay, so now if I just run x, the output on the bottom should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. What if I run something like this? X bracket. Okay, it's not good, but let's see. X bracket 3. If I run this, what do you think would be the output? So it's not because this number is 3. It's because the third number in your vector is 3. Yeah? If there was 7 there, it will output 7. So this is how you individually print the numbers from your vector. Right, what if I do something like this? X, say, bigger than 3, something like this. If I run this, what do you think will be the output? So if I do X bigger than 3 and I run it, the output is false, 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 true, true. It means the first 3 elements are not bigger than 3, but the last 2 elements are bigger than 3. Right, similarly, if I do like this, X inside the bracket, I give X bigger than 3. In this case, it will print the actual numbers. So if I put X bigger than 3 inside the X, it will print the actual numbers. Is that making sense? What's going on? When you practice, it'll make more sense. Okay, one more thing. The function called as ls. If you do ls, open and close bracket, and run this, control enter, see what happens. Look at the output is S and X. So make a note, the ls function will list all the variables that you have defined in your program. If you look on the right, there are 2 variables, S and X. But when you're doing a program, there could be hundreds. So sometimes you forget what alphabets you've used. So with the help of ls, you can check what all you've used. And one more important bit called rm. Bracket, and if you write down a variable, so if you do rm bracket, any of the variables, and run this, look at that, the X from the side disappears. So RM stands for remove. So if you want to release a variable, you would have to use rm. Let's see if it's recording. Yeah. Okay, now very important bit will be called the combine function. This can help you make your own variables. Sorry, your own vectors, the combined variable. So for example, you want to make a new vector, but you want, say, 1, 7, and 9 in it. This is how we do it. The combine function starts with a C and bracket. And you write down your numbers there. So this will create a vector X with the number 1, 7, and 9. So the combine function C will help you create your own vector. Does that make sense? Now if I do X bracket 2, what do you think will be the output here? 7, very good. Makes sense, right? Because that 7 is your second element. Similarly, if you want to make a string array of your own, you do the same thing, but you give the strings in double quotes like that. If I run this, S should now have 3 elements, A, B, and C, separated now. So very important, the combine function can help you create your own vectors. Right, this was the absolute basics of just to get started. Let's learn a little bit of data manipulations. Okay, what you are seeing here is the base R package. Right, what we did so far was with the help of a base package. But to do advanced things, you need advanced packages. So whenever you're trying to do data manipulation, the first thing you want to do is install an advanced package. And this is the syntax to install advanced packages. It'll be called install dot packages, this one. And in double quotes, you give the name of the package that you want to use for data manipulations. The name of the package is called tidyverse. Very important, tidyverse. So you say tidyverse. And you run this. It should take like a couple of minutes for it to run. Look on the bottom. And make a note, you have to install the package just once, not every time you run it. So when the first time you're doing it, you will have to run the install package. And it saves in one of your R folder. Not the one you made, but there is an inbuilt R folder that was made when you installed RStudio and R. Right, this is installing. Once you install it, you have to initiate it. And you do that using the function called as library. And inside this, in double quotes or non double quotes, you write down the name of your package. Is it making sense what's going on? We're installing the package and we are making it ready to use in the program now. You do that using library. Run it and it should say it's ready to use like that. Yeah, so it says ready, 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 was built, and ready. Now make a note, every time you run your program, you'll have to use the library function. You will have to initiate the package every time you want to run the program. So the library bit has to be done every time. The install packages just once, but if you're using another program where you're using Tidyverse, you just have to do library and then start, not install package. Any questions so far? Are we okay? Okay, now the next important bit is once it is ready to use, you bring your data file into R that you've downloaded. And that's called reading a file. So read a file. Right, the function to use is called read.csv and open a bracket. Pretty user-friendly, just read.csv. And in here in double quotes, you write down the exact name of your file. So you say sample data w11.csv, the entire thing. And you have to save this in a variable. And these type of variables where you bring the file in are called data frames. Make a note. When you bring this entire file into R, the place where you save it is called the data frame. So you say df like that. df stands for data frame. So this entire file will get saved in a data frame which you can manipulate. Yes or no? So now if I run this, see what happens. Yeah, ready? Run this. On the right, you should be able to see the data frame, which has 242 points and 9 variables. It means 9 columns. If you click on it, you should be able to see the file. Tell me if it's too much. Yeah, I'll slow down. If you like data analysis, this is like you're learning the ABCD of that, basically. This is what you'll end up doing in R programming. So now look at your data file. It's got ID of a company, the age of the CEO, the gender of the CEO, how many followers they have on social media, the country they belong, revenue, total staff, male staff and female staff. Now what you want to do is, with the help of this data, you want to learn how to manipulate this data. Yeah? Right. Say it again. Yeah, the 9 variables is the number of columns you have in your, that's the total data points you have in your, yeah. Okay, so the first thing we'll learn is how to relocate columns. So we call relocate. So when you relocate the columns, you will create a new data frame. So let's call it df1. Oh, hold on, before that, hold on, before that, sorry. Once you get this, there are some important functions. Let's call it names, bracket df. We'll come to relocate, but let's do this first. So don't erase it, just put it down. Right, if I run this names.df, names bracket df, it basically tells you which all variables you have in your file. Similarly, if you do head df, and run this, this thing will give you a snapshot of your data file. So it's very important just to check if what you are expecting has come through to the data frame. It will give you a snapshot of the first 6 rows. And similarly, if you do tail bracket df, and run this, any guesses what this will do? This is giving you the top of the file. Tail will give you the bottom of the file. So it's just good to check if you're having your top and bottom similar to what you are expecting. Okay, next thing, if I put df dollar symbol, right, if you do that, all of your variables will show up. If I just do age CEO, df dollar any of your variables, and run this, it will give you the output for just that column. So in your data frame, if you want to just use one column, you'll have to do df dollar the name of the column. Yes or no? Right. Similarly, you can do df underscore dollar country and so on, just to see the output for that. Okay, now let's see the relocate one. Right, so you'll create a new data frame df1. the assign operator. And this is how you do it. You say df, and on your keyboard, you press Control Shift and M together. Control Shift and M. If that happens, if you press that, see what happens? You get an operator like that. This could be a little new to you, so don't worry. When you practice, you'll understand. This thing here is called the pipe operator. Very important, pipe operator. Okay, after the pipe operator, you have to press enter and go to the next line. Otherwise, you'll get an error. Once you put the pipe operator, you have to go to the next line. And then you write down relocate. And in here, you write down the name of any of your variables. Which one do we have? Mail, right? Let's do mail and see what happens. Mail. If I do relocate mail and I run this, any guesses what will happen in df1? Right, so this is how this works. It says take df, and inside df relocate mail. So the pipe operator is like a step. Take this one and then do this. It's connecting the steps. And everything of that gets saved in df1. So if I run this, you'll get a new one, df1 here. And if you look at df1, the mail gets moved to the first. It's always the first, yeah. If you want to move it in between, there are advanced functions, but we'll get there if we have time. But this will just move it to the front. Okay, let's learn the next function, which will be called select. So now if you notice, the df hasn't changed at all, yeah? df is still the same. We just made a new data frame, df1. All right, let's call this df2. Same thing, you always start like this, df, pipe operator, enter. And then you select, and in the bracket, you put the columns that you want to extract from your df. So for example, if I just say ID, age underscore CEO, and say country, yeah, look at that. And if I run this, you'll create a new df2, but how many columns does it have now? Only 3. So if I run this, look at that. You only extracted the information you need from your original file. Does that make sense? What does select do? Okay, let's keep going. 4 or 5 more. Very important, the next function is called mutate. This is a very important function called mutate. What this will do is it will completely make new columns for you. And also you can use whatever formulas you want to do in the new columns. So let's see, let's call it, where are we, DF? 3. DF, pipe operator, enter. And you say mutate. And give a new name to the column. So let's call it ratio. And you say equals. Say you want to calculate the revenue divided by the staff. So mutate ratio equals revenue divided by the staff. What this will do is create a new column called ratio and take revenue and divide by staff. If I run this, look at that. This one has 10 variables now. So if I run this and check at the end, there's a new column called ratio. Yes or no? Okay, one more. It will be called mutate with if else. What if you want to only find the ratio if the age of the CEO is bigger than, say, 30? So this is mutate with conditions. So this is how we do it. Start the same way. But you say ratio equals if else and open a bracket. And you say age underscore CEO bigger than, give a number, 30, yeah. Comma. Then you say divide the revenue by staff. And then put a comma again. Or else say NA, not applicable. Close and close. Right, so what this does is it will check if the age of the CEO is bigger than 30, it will divide, find the ratio. If not, it will say not applicable. So let's check. So if you look at the age here, 32, it's finding the ratio. But if the age is less than 30, say 20, it's saying NA. So when you're doing graphs, it's very important to get rid of the NA. And this is how we do it. The end of this mutate, you give another pipe operator. So you keep continuing the process and press enter again. So it's like you're joining another pipe. And then you say NA dot omit and then close bracket. So if you do this, you get rid of the NAs. So everybody who is less than 30 will disappear. Make sense? So if you want to continue the code, you give another pipe operator and go to the next line. Everything that we are doing, you can do it all in one code. You can just keep going with the pipe operator. So look at that, 242 became 181. So now if you check, there will be no NAs there. Well, there won't be any NA before, But that's a good question. When you download a file, sometimes there'll be empty cells and they will have NA. So always when you run it first, just go through it and check if there are any NAs and get rid of them. Okay, another function. Let's just continue here, will be called arrange. Say you found a new column and you also want to arrange it. So then you say arrange. And all you have to do is write down the name of the, let's just do followers. And run this. Now, if you look at df3, I didn't do it. Followers. Oh, let's try to get rid of mutate and see. I run this. Then if you look at your followers, it's in increasing order. But I'll have to check why did it not work after the mutate. Yeah, I haven't seen that. But in general, if you want to arrange in increasing order, you have to say arrange and the name of the column. If you want to do it in descending order, all you have to say is DESC and put that in the bracket. If I run this and see D, look at that. The followers now in descending order. That one? No, but that one will not save it in a data frame. If you want the output to be in a certain way, you'll have to save it in a data frame and then bring it out. If you want to just take a look here, you can just do that, but that will not save it in a data frame. Okay, the next one will be called filter. Well, let's call it filter. Let's call it df4. Maybe that's why it's not working, calling the same things. All right, to start the same way, df4, df5. Let's catch up. Yeah, we did quite a bit. And you'll have to use the filter function. So let's filter only the CEOs which are female. So what you do is filter and then write down age underscore CEO equals equal. So now make a note, if you want to compare two things, you'll have to put equal equal, not just equal, but two equals. And in double quotes, you'll put F because that'll be female. If you look at DF initially, it's got both male and females. If I run this, and check DF4. DF4 has 0 observations. Oh, not age.ceo, gender.ceo, sorry. Age doesn't have male, female, it's the gender. Does that make sense why that error came? Because we tried to get female from age, which was not there. And run this. So look at that, 127 observations, and we only have. So in the next class, we'll see you'll have to graph only for the females or only for the males. So first you'll have to filter them out and then make a graph based on that data. Okay, similarly, if you have to do bigger than, less than, you do the same thing. Age bigger than 30, age less than 30, whatever you want to filter, yeah? Let's do one last. That'll be group by and summarize. This is important for graphs as well. Let's call it DF5, right? DF5. You always start the same way, DF. How do I do the pipe operator? Control Shift then M, very good, and press. And then you say group underscore by. So say the question is, group your data by countries, and in each country find out the maximum follower, right? Something like that. So you say group by country. So this is done. What do I do next before going to the next line? Another pipe operator and press enter. Every time you want to go to the next line, first do the pipe operator. Then say summarize. Well, the American English may not work here. The Z may not work. It has to be S, or sometimes it works. And in here, you give a new name to the column. So let's call it max underscore country equals. And there is an inbuilt function which is called max. So you say max, open bracket, max of what do you want? Let's do followers. So look at that. This is the important bit. Inside summarize, you give a new name to the column and say equals, what do you want in the new column? You want the maximum of the followers. So for example, it will show you that in USA, a single company has maximum followers of this many people. Let's see. So if I run this, DF15, sorry, DF5. Look at that. It's telling you that in Australia, the maximum follower for a company is 3906. In Brazil, it is 4596. And this table, it's very important to arrange it. So once you summarize, always arrange this according to the name of the new column that you've given. Now, if I run this and look at my output, you see that these guys are in increasing order like that. If you want descending, you do DESC and the name of the column. Did that make sense? Now, very important, once you do all of this, you would want this to come outside as a Excel file. So last step, once you do the data manipulation, how to bring it out. Well, so in here you put DESC and open and close the bracket. So if I run this and look at my DF5, look at this now, it's in descending order. Okay, so the last bit now, how to bring all of this out again. You brought it in, did the manipulations, and now you want to bring it out. That'll be called writing a file. The earlier one was reading, this is writing it back out. Okay, so you'll have to say write.csv. Open a bracket, and then you'll have to say which data frame do you want to write. You have so many. Let's write down DF5. So you say DF5, comma, and then in double quotes, you write down the name of the file. So you say output week 11.csv. And you run this. If you run this, look on the right side, you have the output. So now if you go to your folder, you should have the output file. Right? If you want to check, you double click. And look at that. You have this amazing thing that you made from R. And then if you just want to use Excel, you can make graphs from it and so on. We can also make it in R, but we'll see that next class. Sorry, one more thing I forgot, an important function, which is called merge. So after select, maybe put another function called merge. So what this will do is if you have two data frames, and if you want to merge them together into a single data frame, so you say, let's call it merge DF. And you do merge. Let's merge DF and what was it? DF2, yeah? So there are two data frames, DF and DF2. So you write down merge DF comma DF2, and then you have to say by and equals. This is the important bit. Both the data frame needs to have a common column, and it will merge on that common column. We'll see later on how to merge things without common columns. But this function, you have to have a common column. So in this case, the common column is, say, ID, company's ID. So then what you do is by in double quotes, you say ID. And run. So that merge DF has 11 variables, 9 from DF and 3 from DF2, but the ID column is common, so it does not count it twice. So 9, 10, 11, 12. 12th is the, sorry, 9, 10, 11, ID is the common one. So if you look at this, look at that. you'll have all of them again. H.ceo.x is from the first data frame. H.ceo.y is from the second data frame. And the ID column is not repeated, just a single ID column. Right, did that make any sense? So that much for today. Practice this much first. And there's one more practice I'll give you if you want to do it today or at home, whichever. Let me stop recording.